The Sex Ed with Tim podcast is recorded on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands.
You're listening to Sex Ed with Tim.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sex Ed with Tim podcast. I am your host, Tim. I am a sex educator. I identify as chaotically gay. And listeners, one time I role-played as a thief. I broke into a pharmacy and stole all of their Viagra. Turns out the police were looking for a hardened criminal.
I love the dad jokes.
I'm so glad. Is that funny?
I have two.
You have?
Yeah. On my Facebook, I've gotten away from it, but I used to post really bad dad jokes with a sexy picture.
Oh,
I need to get back into that. Yeah.
Do you have one on the top of your head right now? Like a really stupid pun.
Actually, Darcy told me this morning. Another thing I'm horrible at is getting the joke right.
Yeah. I mean, oh my God.
It was something like, what's red and stands in the what's naughty and stands in the corner?
What is it?
A strawberry. Okay, what did the banana say to the vibrator?
What did the banana say to the vibrator?
I don't know why you're shaking. She's gonna eat me.
That's so stupid, but I love it.
I know, right? See?
I think like anti-jokes are truly the best jokes. Like
this one's horrible.
Oh my God.
I don't think this one's supposed to say this one at all. This is gonna horribly get me canceled everywhere.
Let's hear
it. Why did Mary fall off the swing?
Why?
She had no arms. No. It goes on. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Not Mary.
Ooh, that's a twofer.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, listeners, that very funny and that very, very sensual, sexy voice you hear on the other end of the mic is none other than Nikky from the In Bed with Nikky podcast. How are you, Nikky?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me. I can't believe we connected so fast. It was just amazing.
This is truly like magical. Hey, it's the power of the internet and Instagram. Like, I love it. So we are going to be talking about fantasies today. And like, if people have ever listened to your podcast, they will know that you are truly the expert in vocalizing and storytelling people's fantasies. But first, let's talk about you. Like, who is Nikky?
Nikky is actually just a simple woman. I pride myself in that. I'm not, and there's nothing wrong with being high maintenance and glossy and feminine. But like I tell somebody, when you hear my voice and you listen to me tell stories, it's always amazing. Like I asked you, what do you think I look like? And everybody has me tall, blonde, and leggy, and I'm like, wow, you're way off. I'm short, have violet hair, and can't walk in heels to save my life.
Neither can I. It's called bunions and calluses. I cannot.
Well, I'm learning. I'm teaching myself because I'm going to an award show this September. So
Ooh, fun.
I know I'm working my way up to like an inch and a half next week.
Ooh, yay! Congrats!
I know.
Oh, I love that.
I'm like, as long as I only have to walk, I'll be good. Maybe.
I don't have to run or jog or climb any stairs or anything. Oh my gosh! I first wore like heels. I swan dove into 6 inches, not knowing what I was gonna, walk into. I clearly walked into the floor after the first step. My God, tripped all over the studio. I'm like, oh, this is so embarrassing. Yeah, it's truly awful. But hey, you know what? You continue to live your high heel fantasy and just strut like you own the room.
Exactly, right?
Oh my God. Yes. So, Nikki, before we started recording, you told me all about your experience in the adult industry. What exactly was it that you did?
I was a phone sex operator.
Which is why your voice is so good at this.
I
How did you get into phone sex operation?
I don't quite know your age, but, in 2008, like some of your listeners.
I'm
You what?
28. I'm
Oh, 'cause
28.
yeah, you barely look legal.
I'm a little
And if you were
baby.
straight, you're definitely not in my dating household. So, I I'm one of those, older women, and no, I'm not a MILF. Um, to
I
put
s
that out there, not a MILF
You know
unless
what?
I
As a gay woman, as a gay man, I love women. Like, I'm obsessed with women and all the feminine energy that comes with it.
yeah,
Come through.
no, I have more I've always been that sexy tomboy. I know how to dress up, I know when I wanna dress up, I know, it's but I'm more comfortable in my bare feet and,
Mhm.
but
Love it.
in 2008, as most of your older friends can tell you, the world tanked and a lot of people lost their jobs. I was one of them.
Mm, mm,
And that's also in the infancy where work at home jobs were starting. Um, it was right at the beginning where companies were learning, mostly customer service was learning that they could hire workers from home.
mm.
And I did not want to go get on assistance. I thought, if I could find something where I can continue to look for an office work or something in my wheelhouse, then I can go back to that, and as long as it helps pay, and it did, and then, a friend of mine said, because as you can confirm, this is my natural voice.
Yes, I can confirm I'm so jealous of your natural voice. It's so soft and hypnotic. Like I'm obsessed. I got like this weird like rasp to it because of like how many years of smoking and like I quit, but like all that damage is into here. I'm like, ugh, I hate it. But apparently it turns some people on. But hey,
Yeah, there's a lot of
uh,
smoking fetishes out there, but no, mine's just born. I was born this way.
which I'm so jealous of. Like, I could listen to you read the phone book. Truly.
See, that yeah, I say that too about some men, and then there's one guy one time said, can I call you when you read the tax code to me?" And I'm like, "The tax
The
code?
tax
Sure, we
code.
could do that." I was like, "If I don't put you to sleep," he's like, "Trust me." And there's a very early episode where I actually did. I went to the IRS website to appease him, and yes, I did read tax code. Not very long, but I did read tax code.
Oh my God. I don't know if you know this show called Crank Yankers.
Yes,
Yes.
my old boss was on one of those.
No
I kid you
way.
not. There's one where and she's a bitch, by the way. There's one
Ooh.
where they actually call a phone sex line early on. Ed. Ed calls, one,
I
and I kid you
gotta watch
not.
this episode. I gotta watch it.
Yes,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
She was my one of them. I think they called several of or a couple of them, but yeah,
Mhm.
one of the earlier ones was my boss.
Oh my God. And that was like totally unexpected for Crank Yankers and Comedy Central to just like call your phone sex line then, huh?
Well, I wasn't me because I didn't
No, no.
know. Yeah, I knew the episode, and when she told me about it, I was like, "Oh my god, that was you?" Yeah. Mhm.
No, so no, the reason I bring Crank Yankers up is because there's this one episode in I think like season one-ish where they call like this computer repair guy and then
Oh, yeah.
she was masturbating. It's like just tell me something I don't know. Like what's a hard drive? What's binary code? And then she started using like the ball of the mouse, like back when
Uh-huh.
mouses had like a little ball, and then just
Yeah.
started, like masturbating with it. I'm like, you know what? Whatever gets your rocks off, right? Even if it's a tax code.
Even his tax code. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so funny. How long were you a phone sex operator for?
I've been in a phone sex I'm not in it as much anymore, my show's kind of taken over it, but I do take calls every now and then, but 17 years.
17 years of this like
Uh-huh.
sensuality and perfecting the art of like sexy talk. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
jealous.
17 years
What's your
and
secret?
not
Oh,
well, and the thing is, I've never shown a picture, I've never used my real photos, it's
uh,
just all been done vocally.
oh my God. And that keeps the fantasy alive.
It does. It really does that. And God loved the women that want to put themselves out there and stuff. But, I look at them and it, and I don't mean this in a rude way, but it's women these days really need to dial it back and learn that sometimes less is, more is less, or less is more, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And I really, as a woman and even as men, I think we've gone so far the other way. And it kind of reminds you of it bleeds, it leads, or the Jerry Springer effect, those kind of things, shock value, and
Oh,
anymore,
right. Yeah.
and really Madonna really, really coined it in the 80s. And I mean, and then and there's always been shock and all around somebody trying to up, but that's when you go, when does it stop? And it always goes too far. But if that's all you have to offer, if you've already put the goods out there, you better follow up something with it. If
Ooh, yeah. No,
Yeah. What
I
it
get it. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
but I mean, if you're sending dick pics, and by the way, if I get them from the show, that's what I'm starting to tell every interview. If I get dick pics unsolicited from your show, guess who's getting copies of hairy asses and dick pics? I just got off another interview. I just told him that too.
Oh no,
I'm letting you know right now.
you're gonna be getting all the nudes and all the like, can you
Y
please
They're
tell
gonna be like,
me?
"Oh, that's okay. He's gay. He'll like this too."
What?
No, he
No. Oh
doesn't.
gosh. No, there
I'm
are
I'm
some pics out there that I'm just like, nope, please, no. So, Nikki, let's talk a little bit more about your experience in the phone sex industry. You must have had like a whole bunch of calls, like of like different stories and everything. What are some of like the more fun and interesting requests that you received over your phone sex career?
The first time I was introduced to kink, and because most of the time it was pretty straight laced up to this point,
Hmm.
because the first place I worked was very vanilla, meaning
Right.
you could heavy flirt, but you couldn't say penetration, and it was really weird. It was like if the Amish had phone sex line. So, and maybe not even the Amish. I'm not making fun of the Amish, but I'm just saying it was harder to do that than it was the other way. It seems weird, but it was. Um,
Right. Right.
so the weirdest the f how I got introduced to kink was this guy called, and he's like, "Do you mind if I masturbate with peanut butter?" And my first thought was, "Well, if you wouldn't have told me, then I wouldn't have known, so, okay." I'm like, "No, not at all." And he goes, "Okay, well, it's creamy." I was like, "Well, I guess I guess it's good that it's not super chunky." And he kinda
Because you don't
laughed.
want those little shards of peanuts like messing up your bits. Oh gosh.
Yeah, no, exactly. And,
Oh
so
gosh.
after that, he's like, "Well, there's another thing." I went, "Okay." And he goes, right about before I come, I like to shove a banana up my ass."
Ooh.
And I
Oh
went,
boy.
"Okay, I'm okay for anal," but then this is where my head got into logic land,
Mhm.
and I honestly in my head going, "Is it a plantain or is it a really, really green one?" Because if it's yellow, any form of yellow, then it wouldn't how is it gonna go in and not smush? And then if it smushes, it's gonna be really messy. But I hope he has a sheet or plastic down, because if it gets messy, it gets messy. Well, at least it's not me cleaning up, and if he's in a hotel, I feel really sorry for the so see, sometimes I go down logic land when somebody's
No, I mean, you went into the logistics of this banana. Like, is it still ripe? Is it raw? Is it peeled, unpeeled?
and if that would have been his thing, those would have all vocal things came out, but he wasn't. But I was still, as he's describing the banana and how he's gonna do it and lube it up, I'm not even listening. I'm like, "How's that gonna work?" I started going down logic land, because if you think of it, dildos and butt plugs have at least a decent firmness to them,
Hmm. At
to
least some sort of, like foundation to it that it's not gonna be crushed by the rectal wall or anything.
so exactly, so a banana,
Yeah. It's gonna
yeah.
munch. Your butt's gonna munch it up.
Yeah,
Y
different yeah. I mean, there's a reason why after it becomes a certain stage in the banana, we use it in bread.
Right. Or a
N
smoothie.
No, or smoothie. Nobody's gonna be eating bananas anytime soon listening to this.
Oh my goodness. I'm oddly hungry for a banana right now, to be quite honest.
You
Just
know,
thinking about things.
I love a banana.
Oh, yeah, me
My,
too.
my, how and I used to love them before, but I remember growing up, I was this lady. She'd watch me, and her children hated bananas, and the only way she could get them to eat bananas if she would dip them in not like the powdered Jello, not put them in Jello, but you basically dip them in the Jello so it's still, like, in powder form, so you get the
Mm,
flavor of the Jello around
I
the
see,
banana.
I
You talk
see.
about sugar on top of sugar, but it's so
Yeah,
good.
but,
It's
like, a
so good.
banana's already delicious on its own. You need more artificial sugar on there? Like,
Yeah,
I
but
mean
dip it in strawberry Jello and let me know what you think.
okay, you know what? I'm probably gonna head over to, like, Walmart and then just be like, "Okay, Nikki told me to get a bunch of bananas and a bunch of Jello powder,
You
and we're
only need
just
1
gonna."
box. There's a lot of Jello powder in
Oh,
there.
I don't know how much. See, this is where my logistic brain goes, and it's like,
Yeah, I
"How
see,
much
there
do
you
I need?"
go. See, I told you we're soul sisters.
Oh, we are
We
soulmates.
are soulmates.
We're
We are.
kindred souls. I think there's something about, like, introverted, sexy people that are just like, we're peas of the same pod.
We are.
Yeah, I love that.
Absolutely. There's nothing like finding your tribe, as I put it
Yes.
on my show, finding your tribe. I
Oh
mean,
my
even
god.
though we may be a little different, it's so nice to know that they, like you, are just as explorative. Because as you heard on
Mm,
my show, I don't call it anything but, being explorative. I don't believe in boxes. As a matter of fact, I say, "Why do we all have to be Walmart?"
mhm.
And you say it too from
No.
time you've said it too,
Mhm, mhm.
you know?
But I'm just like, I don't wanna be boxed in or anything. This is
"No, this is
I
just
wanna
me."
be me. Yeah. Labels are meant for food, not people. Come on.
Right.
Oh my gosh. So, I am also, like, pretty curious as to, I guess how you developed your sexual prowess, or like your, let's say, your character development in your story, because you can't, or a person can't just like dive into phone sex, or at least that's what I'm thinking, right? Like, did you go in not knowing anything, or did you just like evolve your sensuality over time?
I think my sensuality involved in me as a person, who if you were to call me on the lines and going into a fantasy, that's who I am, that's normally how I would talk to you as a lover. If what you hear on the show is me, there's no character process, there's no, "Hey, I have to jump on an interview with Nikki," where I may not be this quirky on my show, but every once in a while, I'll have a story and, like, is it this week or last week where the guy I don't know if you heard last week's show where they had the, beer pong, and they had to streak if they lost, right? And I
Mhm, mhm.
immediately as soon as I heard streaking, I immediately thought of old school. So I started in my head
Yeah,
as I'm
like
still
running
reading the
through
story,
naked, yeah, yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, he's gonna drive to the quad and go to the gymnasium." So I kept hearing Frank the Tank as I'm reading the story. So that's why I had to bring that up. Does Frank the Tank there, or did you actually you were the people not showing up with Frank the Tank, and that's why I got in trouble with his life. So occasionally my quirkiness will appear, but not a lot, but it does appear. But no, there is no character. There's no hidden person like you and I are connecting so well. This is the person you would sit down and have a drink with. So,
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, I
Um,
I've I've always believed in exploring and touching your partner and listening to your partner, and that has been very big to me. And I think as an introvert and as being empathy and empathic as I am,
mhm.
there's nothing like feeding off my partner and lover's desires and
Like when
seeing the
you
lust
just
in their eyes.
listen to their needs, and like you feel
Yeah,
how much their body like really wants it without even saying a word, like the arch of their back, or like the glisten in their eye. Ah, that's
exactly.
beautiful. I miss being touched so
And there's
badly.
and, and I for years I've sat and I'll be honest, and I maybe this is one-sided because these are the calls I get. So this is the opinion I have from the calls I have is there's a lot of men, and I'm sure there are women are out there too. And there probably is because usually if it's happening one, it's happening the other, that for some reason they cannot talk to their partner about their needs and desires. And I always wonder why when
Yeah,
somebody's
wha
in such a long commitment, or even if it's more than 4 months, that they can't start the process. And then I go even deeper of going, what makes you not want to? And,
yeah.
I guess it's hard for me to understand because I would want my partner to say, I am curious about sucking a cock, if he's, a guy, because on my show, as you hear, I'm not into women. However, I know my partner would like to watch me. And that turns me on. That knowing that I would give him pleasure watching me make out and have a woman touch me and please me. He's not interested in touching her because he says, why would I want to when I have a woman willing to give me anything I want and be open to exploring? Why would I want to unless you want that? And he said, I don't want that. Now he goes, now would I want you to suck me? Or, we've even talked about, maybe me coming on your chest and having her lick it off. That,
Oh,
yeah,
god.
but exploring that thing and we put a boundary up where it would have to be one of those where we met up and never talked to him ever again. I don't trust a woman, and then that's just me. Women, we're not evil people. We're really not, but, I like to protect mine and my own, so until we found somebody that was willing to only be our 3rd and just sexually and explore that, then yeah. So, but
Mhm.
again, that's not where we're at, but we've talked about it. We've had open conversations about it. It may never happen, but the fact that he was comfortable enough and the fact that we've sat there and we've, talked about it and we've been out to dinner and he maybe have his hand on my leg and say, "I would really love to watch her mouth crawl, slide up the side of your thighs while I'm stroking
Oh,
the cock."
oh my god, that is the
Yeah.
hottest thing. Can you send your lover to me, please?
Could you imagine me sitting next to you at that restaurant and I'm reaching over to you and I'm running my hand up your thigh and I say, "Look at that guy over there.
Oh my
I'd
god.
really like to watch him suck you off
Oh my
or you to
god.
suck him."
Oh my god. I'm not even kidding, I'm getting chills up my spine right now.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I think I just the only thing I miss about the pre-pandemic life is just that moment where I'm like, you may lock eyes with a stranger or like a really hot gentleman from across the street, and then your mind just runs through a million different scenarios. And like, which one do I want to live out? Or like, how do I even approach him? Like, oh, I'm getting it is like 26 degrees here. It is really hot. That's like, I don't know, 100 degrees in the States. Like,
Mhm.
it's just boiling. And I'm, whew, okay, Tim, let's cool down. Let's,
But, I mean, could you imagine I mean, even me, and this is where I was telling you, the sexiest this is when I got introduced to remote toys, and, oh god, I there
remote
that was
toys.
that's the best invention in the whole wide world since toys began.
Remote controlled toys, like, I actually have a toy where, I would just send, like, an invite link,
Uh-huh,
and then, there's actually this guy from the States, he's in Virginia, and I would tell him, like, "Hey, can you open this app? And here's the invite
uh-huh.
link. I'd want you to just start pressing," and it's like, "Okay, what is it?" Because like, men are so simple, they'll do anything. So I just tell him,
Sure.
"Yeah, just sure," and then I'm like, "Oh, there it is. Yeah, no, just keep pressing that same button over." It's like, what am I doing? Like, you don't need to know. It's okay. Go. It's like, oh, that's what I'm doing to you. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Like, yes, please. So yeah, I'm gonna go over to Virginia really, really soon. Then.
I bet. There's just something about, because I even have patterns from, my lover that are
Oh,
older, and I'll play them. 'em. I'll play them on my clit. And
ooh.
yeah, and there's just something about that when we can't touch each other or whatever, and to have him have that control, and even when I was because I've done it to several men that have paid me to do it on the lines, and
Mm.
watching that, if you've never ever controlled somebody, there are there's actually a thing on it, and I forget the hashtag for on Twitter, but people beg for it,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's the most intoxicating thing, and if they get you to listen, because you can call on the app, Lovin's is one of them that I know
Yep,
of,
that's
and
the
I
one I have.
Okay, me too.
Mm.
Love-ins, and then I can't think
Add
of
me
the
as
other
a
one,
friend.
but
Add me as a friend.
there we go. And so there's nothing about it, if you call and there is video call, but I don't video call. However, but could you imagine? It's just insane because you're not getting to touch their wetness or their hardness or anything like that. But listening to a man or a woman moan and in their pleasure, regardless if they're thinking about you or
Oh,
not thinking about you, it's addicting.
music to my ears.
It
When I
is, and yeah,
oh, when I hear,
it's real
"Oh,
porn.
oh
Yeah,
my god," yeah.
it's real porn. It's real.
Oh,
So
yeah,
if I would say if you get off audio where you don't have to watch porn, you just listen to it. Like I said, I don't, and I think if you could in hashtag love ends, I think it'll start pulling up some of them. But
mhm,
people all the time. Matter of fact, there was a day last month that Love Ends did that it was. I think because it was May Masturbation Day,
something like
or
that, yeah.
there was something like that. They had one day where all these hashtags came up, and if you had a Love Ends, there were people begging. And there, I mean, I think that's naturally anyway for Love It, but there's random strangers. Imagine that that'll let you play with them. And since the app is secure, I'm betting, if you're into audio or, anything audio-wise gets you turned on, what surefire way to play with somebody on an app and listening to them? I
Right?
kid you not. I mean, I can't tell you how many times there was this guy that called, and I found out he would reveal a little bit to me, and there was something I can't tell you who, um but he told me eventually he liked to wear panties, but he didn't like to be degraded. But I mean, you could tell he was a swimmer and he has a swimmer's body. And there was
Ooh.
something about that masculine hard body, a manly body, and very feminine panties that I never would be able to pull off. Oh my
Oh,
God. And
ooh.
I would vibe him and he would put on a cage. And to me, just listening to him, and my goal was because he wasn't loud, I love to make him if I could make him moan loud, I'm like, "Oh my god."
Like,
And
disturb the neighbors loud.
yeah, and that's just I never thought about him being in panties, and everybody goes, "Oh, that's a turn off." I'm like, "Turn that picture off in your head." But listening to somebody's desire, it's just I mean, think about it this way. It could be a guy wearing a maid outfit getting fucked by a trucker in their neck and behind on the side of the wall in a hotel room. But if you're hearing two people having sex, most people get sexually aroused. So it's the
That's
same
hot.
thing.
That's
It
hot. I
is.
wanna live
It
that
is.
fantasy out. Oh my god. I wanna be the maid and the trucker.
You'd be
Oh
the
my god.
maid.
Oh, yeah, I would
You'd be
totally be. It's gotta be
I could
French. I
see
gotta, like, put on
French
my
maid. Yeah.
my worst French accent, like, "Oh oui, monsieur. Oh, je ne sais quoi.
Let's send you
Voulez-vous
the
coucher
yeah, there
avec
you
moi?"
go. Yeah, there you go.
Oh my
I went to the
god.
Learning Annex for a week to learn for this fantasy, by the way, buddy.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I was about to ask, like, when people come with, like, fantasies, that you're not really sure how to approach, like, do you have some sort of learning curve or some preparation that you need to go through?
What's really good, about phone sex, I found that if the men know about if they know their stuff is extreme or is very rare, 99% of the time, probably because they got tired of wasting a minute calling girls and finding out, "No, I don't do that. No, I don't do that," they'll email you. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, so that's really good. I one time had a guy, and this is when I was working for a woman directly, not one of those not like Night Flirt or anything like that, where you put in your credit card and
Mhm,
call around. I was
mhm.
actually the operator that you spoke to, and I remember this guy called, and he said, "I have a headphone fetish. Does anybody in the lineup? I don't care who, I don't care what they look like, have a headphone fetish." And I remember I said, "Well, let me see." And he's like, "Please don't waste my time." I said, "I'm not going to waste your time, but I really need to call around and see."
Right.
I said, "We have a pro dom that works for us." I said, "Let me call her." And I called the cunt because um, she was a raging bitch. And
Oh,
yeah,
no. Great
yeah. And
coworker.
I
Oh,
really didn't want to refer her,
uh-huh.
but it's one of those that I'm just such a nice person. I don't believe in fucking with anybody's ability to make money. That's just should
Right.
be everybody's rule. Period. Unless
Mhm,
it's illegal. Period. The end. You should not fuck with anybody's ability to provide for their family or themselves.
mhm,
That's
mhm.
just my hard and fast rule. So I remember I called her and she goes, "What are you talking about?" And I said, and she was like, "What? Well, what do you mean? Just wearing it and fingering myself?" I said, "No." And this guy was very specific. He said he wanted to hear them talk about the differences between the brands, the decibel levels that they handled or didn't handle. Yeah, the wiring that were
Wow!
used, I was like, and I was honest, I said, "I'm not sure anybody's coming in your wheelhouse, but let me check."
Yeah.
And I called him back and I was like, "Unfortunately, we don't have anybody." And he said, "That's fine." He appreciated me looking. He said, he said, "The person I called doesn't work anymore, and now I'm having somebody replace her." And he
Oh
said,
my
"It's," and sure enough, I went online afterward. It's a thing, but once you
a
get to things like
headphone
that,
fantasy.
and once you
Wow.
get to that, you're talking about the 0.01% or probably just a little bit
The
higher than that.
niche, 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 niche.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god. I mean, I would have never thought a headphone kink or fetish was like a thing. Like, I wanna know about, like, the sample rate or the hertz.
Mhm.
Oh, like, I mean, hey, like, what gets you on, but geez, I truly like, I was an escort, and I thought I've lived through the entire sexual spectrum, but I'm just learning about this now. So, wow, that is interesting.
As you probably can admit to being an escort that they said you probably heard it all, and that's when you cringe because you go,
Nope.
"Motherfucker, you just cursed me." Because
Yeah.
as soon as you say, "I've heard and seen it all,"
Yep. I truly have
and
not.
exactly, and this is where I say this, when I thought, and you always know when things have stayed pretty mainstream, you always know there's that one kinky person that's gonna come around. And
Yep.
I got an email one day, I just got through telling the story. I got an email one day and said, "Would you serve me for dinner?" And I thought, I knew he didn't mean the way it was written, I got a feeling he didn't mean maid because he did not specifically say, "Would you be my maid or my housekeeper?" I thought, okay, he either wants to be Hansel and Gretel or he wants to be a human sushi platter. And that's literally what I was thinking. I'm reading this email going, "Oh God, what do I do?" And I thought, okay, let's hear him out because I can do the human sushi thing. I can do that.
Right,
So I
yeah.
wrote back. I said, "Do you mean a human sushi platter?" And he said, "No." And he said, "May I call you?" And I sent him some free minutes because
Right.
I don't. It's one of those. I don't want someone that it's not my wheelhouse. I don't want them to have to pay for it. Other girls work a different way. I
Mhm.
don't.
Right.
I can't tell you how many calls I've got off just be for being that honest.
Mhm.
So he calls and he actually goes, "I want to be stuffed and trussed like a turkey and put in the oven."
Oh,
I went
okay.
I went, "So Hansel and Gretel?" He goes, "Yeah." And I thought, "Damn it, that I know my gut's never wrong."
Ugh, I knew it.
So,
I knew it. I called
y
it.
yeah, so he goes, "I'm going to email you a list of things I want you to touch." And he said, "Let's just try and spin it." And I said, "Okay." And the thing is, he's my favorite caller. And
Aw.
he's my favorite caller because he gives me total creative control of where the fantasy is going. He's absolutely quiet. So as an escort, I'm sure you've had those people where they
Mhm.
don't wanna say anything, they're quiet, and
Yes.
you're kinda like you really have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to their, well, for you, probably their body language. Me, it's just
Yes.
air. I have to pay
Yeah.
attention to the breathing and
It's
little
so much more
noises.
nuanced and, like, you really need to be on your game the entire call.
Exactly,
Wow.
exactly. So as he wrote me the rules, I'm trying to think, okay, how can I spin this? And he said, "The one thing I want you to be in and refer to every now and then is I want you to be in high heels and an apron only the whole time." And I thought, okay, well, I was like, "Well, that's normal. I can do that." And
That's
but
hot.
as I'm spinning the idea and he brings me the list, and one of them is he wanted me to have unpack some groceries. And I don't know about what you know about movies, but my mind immediately went there, is the very old movie of, Tales from the Dark Side,
I
where the
think
wo
so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's from the early '80s. If you haven't seen it, it's set up like kinda like, the old Stephen King movies, that and I can't think of it, Creepshow. It's kinda like that, where it's split,
Mhm.
it's different stories. kind of like my show. And what I did was this: I had this older woman. She was dressed in wearing back had horrible 80s, that the horrible puffy sleeves and that pen, that pink pen with the woman silhouette on it, that was horrible. And button up, she had that on, a very long skirt, but she had these really hot boots on. And and it's that's how the movie starts. It starts looking like it's a normal day. She gets in her car and she's driving home, and she gets home and she's taking her earrings off and she's talking to her party guests saying, "Oh yeah, it's at dinner will be served at blah 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 blah," and everything. And she, putting the groceries down, and she goes and takes her coat off into her bedroom, and she comes back out, but she's clothed. I wasn't. And then she opens these doors, and you see this kid, and I can't think of the famous name. You'll know it if you saw it. And he's
Mhm.
chained to a wall, and he's reading this book. In the movie, he tells all these stories, and you get to see these stories. Well, in mine, I took that idea, but he was naked and chained to the wall.
Ooh, I'm
So
here
that's
for
how I came
that.
up with the idea. Yeah,
The guy on the other end was the naked one and chained to the wall
exactly.
while you're
Telling
unpacking
this.
groceries.
Uh-huh.
I wow. I mean, I love that. That is like unusual and creative, and like does I guess he just likes the idea of seeing like a woman in just an apron and high heels just take out the eggs and the carrots and the milk.
Well, we were talking well, when I got him out of his cage, I put him on the very large countertop with a pan, and I made him get inside the pan, and then beside the pan, I had olive oil and butter, and I would brush his skin down with it, and I would
Ooh.
baste him, and then I would massage his cock. Well, then I would walk over to the counter, and I would start making meatball, and I would dice the carrots and the onions and the celery and the potato, stuff that you make a stuffing with.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
as I
Right,
had him on the
right.
counter, and I would every once in a while I'd go back and stroke him, and then I would truss his legs and arms together, and I'd have
Like a
him,
hog tie?
yeah, because remember he wanted to be stuffed and
Right,
trussed like
yes,
a turkey.
yes, yes,
So
ooh.
yeah. So then when I came back, I had the way I explained it. You're like, it's very interesting. He wanted extreme details. Excuse me,
Yeah, something like that
and
is gonna require thoroughness.
yes, and I told him how I stuffed this injector. And I came back and I would place 2 fingers inside him and stretch his, anal hole with the olive oil
Ooh.
and the butter, and I would salt and pepper it, and then I would push the plunger in, and I would push the ingredients inside him, and then I would go wash my hands and go back to the oven, and I would turn the oven on, and I said, "You hear click." And I heard him that's what I heard him, "Ugh." And
Ooh.
then I said, "I turn your head or while I'm stroking your body, keeping it oiled and massage your legs and your hands and your arms from getting too cramped. You're watching the elements in the oven go from bright orange to low orange. And you know
Ooh.
that the oven's heating, getting ready to kiss the oiled skin from you."
Oh my god. And then, like, what, you just start to smell
Yeah, basically you just
the meat
yeah, you start
cooking.
well, the thing was he always finished before I got him in the oven.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
Thank God, because I'm like, "How am I going to describe?" And then I'm like, "Oh god, eventually he'll be done," and then I have to cut into him. No, this ain't gonna work. So, but and he did. He always finished before I pushed him in the oven. Not like Hansel and Gretel. We actually had a rolling thing where the pan rolled in. At one
like
point, I did stretch it where I pushed him in the oven, but I would always pull him out and then stroke his cock and rebaste him. But sometimes I would have this jar where his old cum was in with mixed with olive oil and butter,
ooh,
and I would baste
yum.
his skin with his old cum that we had collected. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I love that for him that he finished even before you could finish the fantasy, but, like, You want to finish the story? I want to hear the end of the story. Do
Oh.
you eat him? Do you like, digest him slowly with
Well, that
a
was the
glass of
thing.
Chardonnay? You know?
Well, that was the thing though with the lines in this, that there's no cutting, there's no bleeding and stuff like that. So that's something I couldn't cross with him, and that's something we both agreed on. He never wanted to, even though the thought is intriguing. We never took the fantasy there ever, and that's something I would have turned him down flat if that happened. However, it's I finally asked him after 3 calls of doing this, and I thought, he's either gonna answer me or he's, you know, never gonna call again and just say, "I just enjoy it," and leave it at that. Because that's where my curiosity gets to me, is like, what makes you want this? What makes you desire this? That part of me always kicks in when I get any fantasy really, and
Mhm.
I found out and again, I can't tell you, he's a CFO of a big corporation up where you're from,
Ooh.
actually.
Oh, really? I probably know
Uh-huh.
him then.
Exactly, you probably
Probably
know
been
him.
my client. He's probably been my client for all I know.
Probably,
Mhm.
and, he said the first is, because he's a submissive, and he said,
Mhm.
giving yourself, he said, "This is the way that the ultimate gift for, a do my dom." And if you think about it, you're giving your life, you're giving everything for your dom. I didn't think of it either that way, yeah. I mean, because saying, "Yeah, you can cook me and ingest me, then I'll always be part of you for a little bit."
That's kind of sweet. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
know it
Like,
is, it's very
what?
sweet in a way, but he's like, "I'll never go through with it," because but the thought of actually giving myself completely over to her that way and letting her have that power, and I was like, "I
That's
get it."
Yeah, I get it.
And he
I
said,
mean,
"Honest." Yeah.
I'll never have that kind of emotion for a man because, like, men are gross, but, like, I get it. I get that wanting to, like, to give yourself completely over to someone. I'm
Yeah.
here for it. Also, like, I do notice that, men who are, like, in positions of power, like CEOs and CFOs and whatever, they always, or at least in my experience in escorting, they always want some sort of submissive role, or, like, they just wanna not be in power for the hour.
They either swing either way. They either want to have
Mhm.
someone submissive or they want to be submissive, but you're right. It's
Yeah.
is the way I explain it to somebody that doesn't get it. I said, "Well, how do you de-stress?" And some people run, some
Mhm.
people swim, some people have the reading or whatever you do it. It's simple as the stress ball. It
Yeah.
really whatever you do, and then some people just need it this way, and that's
Mhm.
it.
And some people
A
have phone sex.
and some people have phone sex.
We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Yes.
Hello, all my little sluts. It's me, Mama Slut. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. I just wanted to hop on here real quick to let you in on a sexy little deal. Do you like feeling sexy and looking sexy? Of course you do. Only my listeners are sexy as fuck. I have partnered with fetish wear designer Dale Kuda to bring you the hottest deals on custom jock straps, harnesses, hats, and more. Head over to dalekuda.com, that's DALEKUDA.com, and use code SEXEDWITHTIM at checkout for 25% off the entire store. Yeah, you heard me. 25% off. And cherry on top, free shipping. Oh my god. I have a few of the stuff that he has made for me, and girl, I'm wearing it right now. I'm wearing like a little jock strap so that I could easily just like slip a little butt plug or dildo every now and then here and there. And I'm on the train. I'm just like, thank you, Dale. That's dalekuda.com with the code SEXEDWITHTIM for 25% off your entire purchase with free shipping. With a deal like that, I swear I could come buckets, honey.
The show is about to begin.
Yes.
Have you ever noticed like a common fantasy that comes up, whether it be on your show or in your phone sex work?
Well, on my show, I get a lot of swinger stories, and
Oh yeah.
I think part of it is I've landed on a swinger radio station,
Hmm.
but also I think that's it right now. I think sex is just like anything in the industry, not that the swinger lifestyle or however you want to refer to it as, is brand new. It's not. It's been around for years.
Ages. Yeah.
Just like being in dominant and submission. It's been around. You can find all the history on it. It's now just coming out and
Mhm.
making its entrance and becoming more popular. Um, those are the ones I really got, and then, I'm finding a lot of common stories I get are men wanting to watch their wives with other men or
Mm.
women, but
Mhm.
being with another woman's so common, it's like people joke, a man wanting to watch 2 women together, they don't consider that gay, they consider it art or, erotica.
Yeah.
They don't consider it,
Mhm.
and I'm like, "Oh, sorry, if she's into each other, they're, depending, they're either bisexual or they're lesbian." That's exactly what it is,
Mhm.
let's not sugarcoat it, but but it is what it is. But it's like I know somebody that's bisexual. He's in the way he first explained it to me. He's like, I'm not gay. I'm sexually bi, but romantically straight. And he said, I would love to find a partner that would embrace that side of me. And he was a regular, and I remember him and I would having these conversations, and I would get turned on at the thought of watching him with another guy or being with another gentleman, and I thought, but just the idea of watching your partner come apart, that's so hypnotic, and seeing that side of him, because really, if you think about it, every man that I ever met over the 17 years, and I mean even you, over how many years you've done it.
Mhm.
If you think about it this way, you've got to see their most intimate detail that probably they never can tell anybody,
Oh, yeah, for
ever.
sure.
So,
Mhm.
to me and you and anybody else out there in this industry, you're really getting to see a part of their soul that they're not really revealing to anybody else. So, when
Oh,
you
yeah.
start to learn about them, you probably know more about them than the people they've lived with for years.
Yeah, and, like, I'm just a complete stranger, and then you're already, like, opening up and, like, showing your most vulnerable sides to me. Like, I'm a little flattered. There's actually on my website, there's a blog post, it is coincidentally, titled Tim, Jim, and Nikki, and it was about this.
Isn't that
Yeah,
quinky dink? That's
isn't that a
very
coincidence?
serendipitous.
Mhm. No, but the story of Tim, Jim, and Nikki is me and then this couple, James and Nicole, Jim and Nikki. They wanted me to come over and, like, they wanted me to have sex with the husband so that,
Mhm,
like, because the wife got off on watching his husband make love to another man.
mhm.
It's like that cuckolding fantasy, and then they really got to live out that fantasy, and, like, I almost felt like, "Hmm, I'm so honored to be part of this, but, like, there's this spark between you 2 that I feel like I'm the third wheel even though I'm fully, like, coming inside of your husband." I'm like, "This is sweet, but also, wow, it's extremely intimate what's going on right now." The way they lock their eyes with each other,
Mhm.
during the entire, like, I never touched her, but the way that he was looking at her while I was fucking him was the most intense, like, eye contact I've ever seen between 2 people ever. Whoa.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand when another person they get caught up in the, "I don't want another dick in the room. I don't want that dick touching me." And I'm like, "Do you realize if she's sucking your cock and he's fucking her, she's not thinking about him. She's thinking about how good it feels." But I said, "Look, watch where she's looking." And 99% of the time, she's looking at you, you dork. I mean, seriously, you know?
Aw, yeah, like, they're
And it's
thinking
the
about
deeper
you.
connection with that, and
Mhm,
if that's not your thing, that's completely fine,
mhm.
but at least, if you're not willing to go that route with her, plays with the butt plug and fuck her with that, I'll give her kind of the same sensation a bit.
So, what do you think makes fantasies so hot? Like, I mean, there are some fantasies that we shouldn't be living out, or, like, I don't know. There's something about the taboo that makes it sexy. What do you think that is? Just from speaking from experience.
I think when we make the decision to embrace it and however we embrace it, be it on paper, may it be at a bar where you just think about it, may it be just porn or anything, we become freer and sometimes another person that we wish we were brave enough to embrace.
Mhm.
Um, I think that Do I wish we could have these type of conversations out in the open 100% of the time? No. I do believe in being anonymous. I do believe in privacy at times. Um, but I know for me, when somebody starts telling me a confession, and especially when I read them, it's very validating. Even if my need isn't their need or my want and desire is not theirs, seeing somebody embrace that, reading somebody embrace that is amazing. Is
That's very
amazing.
empowering. Oh yeah, I can imagine because
You know?
it's such a vulnerable and like deep part of you. And then for you as a phone sex operator and with your podcast, like you're offering this space for people to just live out this thing that they've never have been able to live out before or are too afraid to live out. That's so good. Some heroes don't wear capes. Some heroes wear headphones.
I had a amazing story last week that aired last Wednesday, and it was about a guy that actually took the chance and was brave and went to the women's department, bought some, wanted to try some things on, and he had to change over in the men's department, and he got judged by the dressing woman to let him in, and I told him,
Oh,
but she didn't say anything, but it was in the tone and,
the
in the
look,
look,
yeah,
and
the
I
side
said,
eye.
I remember saying to him, "Fuck her. Fuck her and
Mhm.
her being her stuck up on her ass. Maybe, maybe she got fucked a little bit more, something to loose and fall apart and loose. Come on." And realistically, when somebody goes to that, they want something else or and then to me, sometimes I feel like they look and say, God, I hate you for being able to embrace it. I'm not there yet.
Oh,
And
yeah, like
sometimes I
jealous
wonder that.
much?
Yeah. Like,
Mm,
I'm jealous that you're that brave. And it's
mm.
happened. I don't know about you, but,
Oh,
or
yeah,
with
I
anything
get
in
it.
life, and then you
Slut
find out
shaming.
later,
Mhm,
yeah, where they come out and they say, you know, "I wasn't mad at you, and what I did was wrong,
mhm.
but the thing is, I was jealous that you were able to A, B, C, and D," whatever it may be,
Right, right.
that you were
Oh,
brave and took that, and I don't know how to do that yet.
and then you're gonna take out your insecurities on me? No,
Y
thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you, but, that's when hopefully, as a person and good person that I know you are, that you would say, "Well, ask me anything, and when you need to, I'm here," and leave it at that. And that's one thing over the years that I can always tell when a man wants to talk about, being with another man, touching another man's cock. It's such a big, big fantasy for men to actually admit that they want to, because just like women were told not to embrace our sexuality or it's wrong and that men don't want it,
Mhm.
men are shamed to not explore. And I don't even just mean being with another man. That goes
Right,
anything, with anything.
yeah.
And
Like, why are
I
women allowed to be more sexually fluid than men, you know? Nobody
yeah,
bats an eye when two girls who are just besties, they cuddle, but all of a sudden when two guys who have been like childhood friends their whole life, they just want to like spoon or something, all of a sudden they're gay. Come on.
no.
Yeah. That's so sad. I wish that people would be a little more open to some exploration every now and then.
You know how many stories I've heard or men finally say, "Yeah, I stroked off with a guy in high school."
Ooh. I'm starting to bet you got a lot of those stories then.
I do. There's a
You
lot
do.
of stories like that. There's a lot, and I always remind when somebody says, "Does that make me gay?" Because they've struggled for it for years, and I always go back with, "Do you wanna go to a bar and see if you can date a guy?" Well, no, then you're not gay.
Yeah, please don't
I
date
mean,
men.
for me exactly. For me and my definition, because again, as like I say, you can look at Webster and then go somewhere else and you have something else, it's just a matter
Right.
of who says
Yeah.
what. So my definition, that's what I always say, and please don't. Or if you're just curious, be open and honest and say, well, I right now I don't think I am, but I'm just curious, and 9 out of 10 times they'll be honest, say, well, I don't want to play with you. Or if they do, like, okay, I'll let you explore with me, but be honest about it.
Mhm. It's your authenticity. Don't
Yeah.
hide who you are. Aw.
We're clamoring. Our world is clamoring for authenticity and just honesty.
Mhm.
But on the same token, on the other flip side, I think we're afraid of honesty.
We
You
are,
know,
because when
yeah.
we're too honest, we start to open up this very specific part of ourselves. It's like, what if they don't like it? Oh,
Yeah.
that's so sad. Oh, I have a question for you. Since we're on the
Sure.
topic of fantasies, have you ever lived out a fantasy that you've always wanted to live out? Or do you have a fantasy that you have yet to live out?
I have a few with him that I want to live out. Like
Ooh.
there's something about being, and I've always found it erotic. There's something about being fucked and being in a hotel room in the long tall windows and being fucked against it.
Oh, like the voyeur,
Uh-huh.
like fantasy. Oh my God, yes.
Now one I've
My
yeah.
dream is to like be in a hotel and just
Uh,
like just do me and then open the curtains.
I love that. I love
Oh my
that.
God. But yeah, sorry to interrupt, but go ahead, keep going.
No, I've lived one out by myself, but I would love to live it out with my partner.
Mhm,
Is I was in Cancun last October,
mhm,
and I was there was a couple that they were in the lifestyle, but they
mhm,
were also voyeuristic. So the thing was, they asked us to be at their wedding. Well, they also asked us to watch them consummate their marriage. The rules were we were not allowed to have any sexual acts. It was supposed to all be about them. So we were allowed to have sex, or they were allowed to have sex, but nobody could touch. Now, if you wanted to touch, you need to leave and go back to your room, which I thought was even hotter.
mm.
Instead of just it becoming an orgy in the room,
Right, right,
that it
right.
was you're watching two couple embrace their lifestyle and embrace their sensuality and being explorative with each other.
Mhm.
Because she didn't touch anybody else. It was all about them. Now I know they played through the week with other couples, but that night was them. Yeah, and there were I that week I met 2 men that were
Ooh.
sexually bi,
Ooh, yummy.
and no, nothing happened.
Oh, darn.
I know, everybody's
Uh,
like, "Oh, please." No,
you you fully edged me
yeah,
there, Nikki.
I know,
I'm
but
fully on the edge of my seat. Like, come on, finish the story.
I watched, though.
Ooh, yum. Oh, I love to watch. I really like to watch.
There is nothing sexier than what like, just I can watch a woman masturbate. I could.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
not that she's a woman, it's that she's embracing herself. There
Right,
is
yeah.
nothing sexier than a person, you know and, I guess you could this is where somebody would say, "Well, yeah, I wouldn't wanna watch the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man if he was a person jack off." And
Mm.
okay, that's probably true. I'd probably have to turn the video off and do audio only, but still, there's nothing it's completely amazing to watch something like that, to watch somebody embrace what they need and desire and
Mhm.
listen to them lose that control. It
Oh,
it
yes.
just makes you feel okay. Like, like I said, the peanut butter guy, I didn't find that hot. I found it more curious than anything else. But,
Right.
you know, if something like that makes somebody feel like, okay, I can do that, then why not?
Mhm. Oh, that's so beautiful. Just like to be in your most authentic self, to be in that fantasy and to just be in that zone. Oh, I love it. I'm so obsessed with that. This entire conversation, I've been obsessed with how you talk and how open you are about like your fantasies and everything. Can you like give me some tips on how to be more like attuned to sexy talk? Because for me sexy talk is like fuck me daddy, but like that's not really,
You
sexy
mean
all the time.
like when you look over your shoulders and say, "Fuck me, daddy, please."
Okay, see, I can't do that. Can you like give me like a hot tip on how to do that?
That's just me, though. I mean, I can just look
Is
back
it?
and say, fuck me, Tim.
Fuck. Oh,
Let me spread my
ooh.
legs for you, and you can slide that nice hard cock inside me. Yeah, see?
I'm obsessed. I'm so obsessed.
For me, I actually read I over the years, I got into 50 Shades of I don't like that book, but it does have
Mhm,
some
neither do
good
I.
yeah, it's 50 Shades of shit if you're looking for literature, but if
Yeah.
you're looking for
A jumping off
ideas
point?
sexually. Yeah, jumping off point. Yeah, it's a good place to start. But there are also some really good authors that do smut.
Mhm.
And
Oh, right, yeah.
yeah, and I would actually just incorporate those scenes in some fantasies that I would
Mhm.
delve for men, and I would, try to bookmark and remember them. Not that I'd go read them to the man that
Yeah.
called, because that takes hang on, let me find so and so from this book. Yeah, hang on, page 42. No, it doesn't work like that.
No.
But it does help you, "Oh, let's try that,"
Okay.
but what I'm
I
saying is start reading erotica, and it just for me, when I find my center and I exhale, I can and in listening to my partner and listening how what turns him on,
yeah.
and I know if I lean in really close and just say, "How was your day?" as I'm touching his arm.
Okay, okay. I wanna try this. So
Okay.
I'm gonna try to, like, speak in low, hushed tones and then, like, give me a grade, like an A plus, A minus kind of thing, because
Yep.
let's live my schoolboy fantasy right now. So if I go like, "Hey, Nikki, how was your day? I really missed
Oh,
you." Was that good?
that's good. It's better than I thought it would be.
Yeah? Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like nice sensual talk.
Uh-huh.
What if I go something like, "I really wanna see you spread those lips for me. I've been craving you all day." How's that?
No, so you're doing good.
Okay, yes, okay, so I really gotta work on that because that doesn't come natural to me. Like, for me, it's just more like, "Ugh," or, "Oh," like that, like, basically wordless, but just sounds.
The
I
one
feel like
thing
I need to work
yeah,
on that.
I guess what goes for me is I had to work on the wording where this is my natural voice. So
Mhm,
if,
mhm.
like when I worked for AT&T and DirecTV, it was just, "Hi, would you like to pay your bill?" And the guy's like, "Hang on can you keep talking?" And yeah, or the woman is like, "Did I call a phone sex line?" It's like, "No, seriously, really," you know? But so this where I have that over you, where this is, I'm gonna talk to you like doing no matter what, I had to learn the wording, and you just pay attention to what really just starts your partner. So, they may like you reading just a manual. And I do every once in a while, I'll post something. I posted something with the other week. I wouldn't kick him out of my bed reading,
Right.
you know Yeah.
I'm just imagining you being like, "You're 3 months overdue on your phone bill."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's
Mhm.
so you can say anything sexy like that, like,
There's
scrumdiddlyumptious.
there's a really early episode where a guy requested and wrote in, he said, "Will you read text code?" And there's an early episode. I didn't read
Mhm.
much of it, but I read text code.
Ooh, okay. Can you give us a sample of either that or, like, any sort of fantasies that listeners have submitted in and, like, in your phone sex operator voice?
Well, tell me when to stop, because this is one, for my patrons, so I'll just give it up to you.
Sure, yeah.
Um,
Give us a sample or a taste.
and said, "Dear Nikki, the night the ship pulled in, I went off to the bar hopping experience, and it was a fun night. Liberty is awesome when you have been out to sea and when you finally get some time off to, yes, drink like you're never going to get a chance to again for a while. Well, I went from bar to bar. The sun set and the light night crowd was kicked. As I walked the streets, I came across the bar that was packed, so of course I had to go check it out. I went in straight to the bar, found a spot, ordered a beer, and the next thing I knew, I received another beer. The bartender stated that it was paid for by someone in the bar. I said, "Tell them thank you." Then all of a sudden, they announced, "The show's about to begin." I thought to myself, "What show?" I was naive at the time and looked at the stage to see what was going on. Well, lo and behold, it was a drag show. I'd never heard of such a thing. So I thought, wait a minute, what kind of bar am I in? I finished my beer and was about to leave, but another one showed up. The bartender stated that the lady next to me covered this round. Well, it would be rude to say no. So I thanked the lady next to me and watched the show. The show was good. Plus, shots appeared before me and another beer, and the lady next to me said, "Enjoy the evening." Well, now things are getting interesting. She asked me what my plans were for the evening, and I said, "It's my last night here. The ship pulls out tomorrow." She said, "I guess we need to make this a great evening,"
Oh my
and
god,
smiled.
okay. Okay, Nikki. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wow. That was
Yeah.
that was so amazing. Like I'm truly speechless right now. That was what?
Thank you.
Whew. Oh my god.
Thank
Yes, bravo, bravo.
So the thing is, when I get confessions, they actually get sent to my editor, Darcy. And
Uh-huh.
no, he's not named after the Jane. Oh, it's a very common question. Everybody thinks I named him after Pride and Prejudice. Is not. I named
Oh,
Darcy because he used to read to me. He reads to
oh,
me, and that's it. Just stuck. So that's our thing. So anyway, he goes
wow.
through and he changes all names involved unless the author alone wants this name in, then we leave
Mhm,
that.
mhm.
But he also checks for, as you heard, any of the things that I cannot say on air, which is really strictly kind of close to what when you call a phone sex line, what they can and can't do.
Right. Setting the
Um,
boundaries and everything.
correct. And so it's pretty tame wise. There's other shows out there that go way over the edge. I will never go there. It's essential and erotic show. Like you've probably, I don't know if you think of it that way. I like to think of it that way. But the thing is, I never see them till I record.
Mhm, mhm. Right.
So he emails them back in a Word document, and I don't read them until I record my show. So as live as I'm reading them, you will hear them. After I read
Wow.
each story, I have my thoughts. So those aren't written because of course I have not read this show or story, and they are coming to me as I'm reading the story. So I
Mhm.
immediately get right after I read it, I go into my thoughts, kind of like we're talking here, explaining how you may not do this fantasy, but would you? Would you do this? Would you,
Mhm.
if you had the opportunity to live your ultimate fantasy, being this one, would you do it? Would you take
Mhm.
that step if no one ever could find out?
Ooh. Oh, wow. That's a really, like,
And I
good
try to give
point.
that perspective. If you were given the opportunity to have your ultimate sexual fantasy, and we're taking morals and values and not talking about the itty bitty greedy yucky ones, but
Mhm.
seriously, if you are a gentleman or a woman and had a chance to be, or even a gentleman that wanted to maybe be with a drag queen for
Right,
the first
right.
time, or
Mhm.
wanted to be with a transsexual, or wanted to be with another man, and you
Mhm.
had this opportunity in front of you that nobody would ever find out, you're shipping out tomorrow, would you do it? And even take
Ooh.
that out of the picture, what if you met a wonderful woman and yeah, and you were shipping out tomorrow, but you knew you had this great thing and it was kicking and you didn't want any strings attached, you didn't wanna change it, neither one of you, but you had this sexual energy, and she was into something and she admitted it, and you could knock it off your bucket list. Would you do it?
Would you do it? Ooh.
And that's the
Oh,
things I like to ask my listeners. Would you do it if given this? Okay, so say you're not into sucking dick, but and I'm picking on that one, it's just because that's where this goes, by the way.
mhm, mhm.
And this one's not on my regular show. This story's on my Patreon page.
Right,
So
right.
you
Yeah.
can't go to the show and find out what happened.
That's why I cut you off. I'm like, I don't wanna give the listeners too much, but let's
Yeah.
keep them going. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so but here's the thing, that's what I like for people to explore because these people are living these fantasies. These people are stepping outside their box, and even if say this guy totally made this up, and this is as far as he'll ever get writing this story of living it out. It's still a form of living out your fantasy, but what if it gives you, Tim, courage to take a step, even if it's not the same fantasy?
It at least gives me a way to, like, okay, if he was brave enough to write something like that, maybe I'm brave enough to, I don't know, bring up a role play kink scene with
Mhm.
my ex partner. Oh my gosh. Wow, Nikki, this conversation has been so wonderful. We are just living out our fantasies, but we gotta give the listeners a break. Our sexy voices have filled their ears for the last hour or so. So, I want to end this on like a really beautiful note. What do you want the listeners at home to take away from this conversation about fantasies?
The thing about this is I'm as I say in every interview, I was raised by my father, and my sex conversation probably wasn't the sex conversation we have. He was
Mhm.
either talking about Home Depot shopping or he was giving me advice in relationships and sex. So you can take from it for whatever you want. But he basically
Mhm.
told me if you don't take care of your house and everything in it and be willing to redecorate, move things around, change things up, somebody will come along and take what you took for granted.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Mm.
Be willing to explore your partner. Be willing, even say you have something to tell your partner, and it's in. Remember, as much as you've struggled with it in your head, it's going to take that much long or longer. Don't expect your partner to go, and very well they could be, but don't take it as rejection if they need 5 minutes to think about it.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong. At least they're thinking about it. Give them that space, have that same respect for your anxiety in your head of spinning it, 'cause we're not psychic. We
Right.
all skip psychic class on Friday. Let's treat it like that, so we can't read your mind. But when you do tell them, give them the time and have the patience.
Mm.
Sometimes patience pays off. It really does, and some people need that extra time to really find
Process.
right, process what your needs and desires is, and I'll close with this one story, is I had a caller once, and he liked to play with women's panties, and he liked to, use a vibrator on himself, a dildo. And one day, it wasn't his voice on the other end of the line. It was his girlfriend's. And I immediately I cringed. I thought, "Oh, fuck, another pissed off shit." And we actually do go through those, even though it's usually click at the end. Actually, I don't. I let the bill ran up one time.
Ooh, right.
She was mean. She was a cunt. Not this chick. This chick was really nice. And she said, "I have a question." She said, "He could answer." He said, "You could explain this." And I thought, okay, this isn't really what I said. Talk to her about it. It's not what I meant. I said, okay. And she said, I don't understand. I don't understand why he wants to wear my panties. I don't understand why he wants to explore anal. And she's like, that's not a manly trait. And I said, traditionally, no, it's not a manly trait. But just because he's exploring something like this doesn't mean he wants to go down to the dock and spread his ass cheeks and say, fuck me to every man that comes around. And I hate to say this in a joking manner, but it's very true. I said, have you ever sat down and asked him? And she said, well, no. I said, for him, I said, the panties that he's wearing, and this is exactly what he told me. He said, it's more of just an exhale. It's the feel of the material against my skin. I don't want to be a woman. I don't want to dress as a woman. I don't want to change or anything like that. I just like the way it feels against my skin. There's nothing more I want to do. And I told her, I said, with him telling you this is when women say we wish our men would open up to us and tell us everything. When someone confesses something, and it doesn't matter what gender role or gender you are, when you confess or have your partner confess to you in this particular manner, they are giving you the biggest gift you will ever get because they've really given you part of their soul that they've kept hidden for so long. So what I'm asking you and your listeners to do is if they get that, realize, especially if you're a woman, you're getting something that's bigger than our big wedding day, our babies and everything else that we're born to wish and want and the perfect wedding day. And if we want those things, whatever perfect little bubble feminine wise you want, it's bigger than that for anybody that's giving you that. So what I'm saying is just take your time and listen. And if it's not for you, at least try to find a way to meet halfway to try it. For him, it was just wearing the things and doing these things. And once she finally, I guess they finally, they did, not guess, they did. She stepped back and a couple weeks later and she said, I get it. She said, I didn't understand him wanting to be vibrated anally or him being used a, butt plug or being pegged. I didn't get it. But watching him come undone by my touch, by my thrust, by my vibrations was amazing. And I don't know what happened to him. He stopped calling after that
They
because
lived happily ever after.
I hope so. I hope so. But at least he got to have a positive experience of being open with what he needed sexually. And that's what I'm explaining. I want to get through to everybody out there is just listen and
Mm,
try. Just really, really try. Because if somebody has the courage to say anything like that to you, that's the biggest gift they're going to give you. And if they're willing to give you that, they're willing to give you the world.
mm. Oh, that's so beautiful. Wise words to take away from this episode. I can't get enough of you, Nikki. I'm pretty sure the listeners will not be able to get enough of you. So, where can people find you? Plug your podcast and your social media.
Yeah, you can find me on my website at dearnikky.com. You can also email me anonymously at nikky@dearnikky.com. You can also do it. You can confess to me anonymously under the confessions tab. I don't get any of your emails. You can put in a random one. We don't know. We don't know who you are. And I don't email you back there. But if you want it directly or have a question, send it to me directly. You can find it on me on Twitter and Instagram, just like I found Tim, at Nikky Nikky 162 with some sexy thoughts of the day. Sometimes some really bad dad jokes. I need to get back on the ball with that. And go vote for me. I'm actually up for 2 awards at the ASN Lifestyle Magazine Awards for Best Adult Podcast and Best Lifestyle Podcast.
Thank you so much, Nikki, for coming on to the Sex Ed with Tim podcast. I love you. I am so absolutely obsessed with you. And to all the listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you at the next episode. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Sex Ed with Tim podcast. Sex Ed with Tim is created and produced by me, Tim Lagman. Music is Aces High by Kevin MacLeod. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at GaySlutClown and at Sex Ed with Tim. You can also like and follow me on the Sex Ed with Tim Facebook page. If you enjoyed the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Even better, you can also support the show on Patreon, where you can get early access to ad-free episodes and more. Thanks for all your support, you dirty little slut. Mwah.